here he's talking about the nature of how you tell a true war story. Would anybody care to guess, what he means by that? When he's talking about being truthful, he's not necessarily meaning you tell things exactly as they happen in your memory. What he's talking about is sort of the nature of truth itself. It's how to tell a story. When you tell stories, memory is an act of invention. It's not just an act of recalling. It's like, again, it's like recalling a dream. What he's writing about is the experience of war is so otherworldly to him that the only way he can adequately convey the experience to people when he comes back, and they always want to hear these stories. They're always trying to get him to recount, tell another story, tell another story. And the only way he's able to do that is by lying, or at least exaggerating. And to him it doesn't seem like a lie, because these things did seem bigger than life. The soldiers that he's facing did seem 8 feet tall and indestructible. At one point, someone tells him a story, and the mountains come alive, literally come alive. And then the next day, after it calms down, he can say, well, they didn't really come alive. And he says, no, that's fine, it's fine. Anytime we like an argument, we are liking 3 things about that argument. One of 3 things, or all 3 things. First, we like an argument because we like the person who is giving the argument. We like the speaker, the writer. That's called ethos. So you can think about examples of that. So if you voted for Barack Obama, then when he gives the speech about health care, even if you don't know what he's going to say about health care, you go in there inclined to like him because you voted for him. The same as if you voted against it. You go in inclined to dislike it. We bring our own prejudices about a speaker, about a writer, to whatever argument they make. That's just human nature, of course. And again, that's why, at least in the media age, you think about how politicians have to sell themselves. They sell themselves much more than they ever sell an argument. They sell their voice, they sell their face, and it's essentially, I'm not joking, that's what they do. And essentially, it's, they're a glorified car salesman as much as that. They say that's the first rule of selling a car is you sell yourself. It's not and that's advertising. It's not a matter of the product you sell or even the way you sell it. It's if they like you, they're going to like what you say. They're going to like your argument. And so you have to think about, in writing, how can you make people like you? How can you establish your ethos? Well, generally I'd say there are 2 main ways, and they're not always opposed. One is you can establish yourself as the smartest person in the room. You can say, I know what I'm talking about, say, affirmative action or the death penalty or whatever you're writing about. I know what I'm talking about because I've done this research. I've read these scholarly journals. I can communicate in this very clear, engaging way. You'll respect me because I am the smartest person in the room about this. Another way you can do that is by kind of saying, well, maybe I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I'm just like you. I'm one of you. We have the same experience. We have this kind of commonality. Both are effective ways of doing it. You see, those are 2 ways that you can establish ethos. You can establish it by showing that you have the same experience, but essentially, if you write clearly, and if you write engagingly, and if you're funny, if you are interesting, then no matter what you say, no matter how absolutely crazy your argument is, people are going to give you the benefit of the doubt. They like you. So that's ethos. This is, in a lot of ways, a very dark story. When I give you outside readings, I expect you to read them extremely closely. We've talked a lot about the proper way to read in this class so far. And I want you to apply those principles to this. Read with a pen in your hand, make notes, and part of your homework is to come with 5 questions about this story. Now these can be questions about the text itself, like if there was something you didn't understand. It could be questions about Tim O'Brien, just about his biography, about his experience in war, what was being true, what was being made up. Now I can't promise that I can answer all those, but the questions themselves are valuable. They can be questions about Vietnam. Again, I can't promise that I can answer those, but I want you thinking. I want you trying to pierce through the story. Try to get to the little lower level, as I say, as Herman Melville said. And of course, they can be more sort of abstract intellectual questions about, is it moral to lie in the service of the truth? How many of you will consider yourselves truthful people? Oh, okay. The rest of you cheat on your homework, or is
I'll be truthful about being untruthful.
You're being truthful about being untruthful? Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad you're being honest about ripping me out. In general, we all sort of consider ourselves truthful, or at least if we lie, we think it's harmless. And that's true too. You can ask yourself, for instance, is it appropriate to lie when the truth will do damage? Is it appropriate to lie in the service of the truth? Is it possible to lie in the service of the truth? These are the questions I want you all to be thinking of as you go through this. You also notice that this goes back and forth from his time in Vietnam to his time currently, even though currently is 1990, so it's not really currently. But it's his time back stateside writing about it, remembering it, what changes when he remembers it. He talks about waking up with certain dreams. But he goes back and forth, and the linchpin of all this, the thing that really sets it in motion, is the death of a soldier, Kurt Lemon. And Kurt Lemon steps on a landmine and explodes off into the sun. This is told 4 different times. And I want you all to focus on each of the 4 deaths. It's the same death, but it's told from 4 different, not necessarily 4 different perspectives. It's always him looking at it. But he tells it 4 different ways. And in each of these different ways brings out another element to the death. And again, I want you to read it with the idea of what's true, what's not true, what's being manipulated for your benefit, and what's being, and what really is there in his memory. Now again, obviously, you aren't going to know everything. You weren't there. I don't know. And I don't think that Tim O'Brien knows. But it really does make you grapple with a lot of these questions. At least I think it does if you read it closely.